will I get invited? I'm already deep inside it. I can't shake it, I can't hide it. I am the outsider. No reason to get excited. We don't have to be so divided. I can't shake it, I can't hide it.
Hey y'all, what's happening? We are very excited. I am Joe Finley.
And I'm Angie Finley.
We are the Swansons, and well, you're in Swansonville. Welcome to our podcast. Welcome to Swansonville. We have had a very, very exciting week in our land of Swansons
That's
music,
right.
have we not, Ange?
We do. We're always very busy working at our music, at our passion, what we love. Staying busy, making videos, making new music. You're always writing new songs.
Tons of stuff, and we have a special guest, as we normally do in each one of our podcasts. We're so lucky to have these people come in and allow us to interview them. So that'll be upcoming on this particular
That's right,
podcast.
special guest.
A special
And
guest
then I was
upcoming.
going to say, and just like writing songs, I was saying, and you wrote that Christmas song. I just want to mention, people keep saying to me, even though it's well after Christmas, about how much they love this song and they love the video. So good job.
Had just somebody sent us a clip of a woman in Houston, Texas, that was talking about the Christmas song.
That's right. That somehow was able to review it.
Yeah, YouTube.
And
Something that was rather informative and entertaining, going to KFROG, which is a country radio station, a very large country radio station here in the Inland Empire, which we have finally decided to take our act here.
Well, let's explain. Inland Empire, it is San Bernardino County.
Right.
I feel like what I've heard is that people who do not live in the Inland Empire, when you say Inland Empire, nobody knows what that means.
Okay, yeah. So let's go by like airport. So
talking about
Ontario airport area,
in Southern
as
California.
opposed to
That's right.
the Los Angeles
That's
area,
right.
their airport.
Yeah, that's right. But the cool thing about this KFROG is that it's such a large station is that their signal reaches all the way to Los
right.
Angeles. So
Sure does.
it goes pretty far. And so what did we do for the tour?
Well, the thing is that a lot of artists don't have the opportunity to do the things that we did at that radio station because we're representing ourselves with our own independent label. So we're taking care of our own advertising. So that in our advertising budget, we include a radio, what's it called?
Campaign.
Yeah, a little radio campaign. And so we began, we've done a few different ones, but this one with KFROG, we've taken pretty seriously and decided to go, well, actually, the head of their sales team requested to have a meeting with us so that we could be better acquainted with her and her team over there, which was really cool. So we went over there, ready to go with the Swansons to talk to these people and to also let them know who we are and our brand and have those conversations and meet the people that run the station, program director, and radio personalities and whatnot. So we headed out to KFROG and went there, and we sat down and had a meeting with Sonia, and what was the other woman's name?
Daisy.
And
it was we talked a lot about digital marketing and digital advertising and how to really hone down on our audience, which is you guys.
That's right.
So we also like to hear feedback and whatnot. So, of course, if you're tuning in to Welcome to Swansonville, don't forget to drop us a shout out at either our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever social media outlet that you prefer. You can contact us on and let us know that you're tuning in and that.
Right.
Yeah. We were able to run into the program manager, which was Scott, and got to meet him actually in person because we actually tried to meet him a time before without a scheduled meeting. We just walked in there. And of course, we were able to just get an email, which was cool. So we made contact with him prior to just running into him at the station, which was so
He had
convenient.
already received a complimentary
Swanson's
coffee mug. So
When we were walking around, we made sure we had a handful of goodies, including the mugs, CDs, and our lyric book, to hand out to all the wonderful people that we got to meet. So we ran into not only the program manager, but also
Their morning
the
team?
morning team. So Heather happened to be there. Heather's from 9 to noon. And then also Anthony was one of the morning from 5 a.m. to 9, I think. and he was there. He got sailor. He just got promoted. Good for him.
Yep.
Congratulations. And it was just real cool. You know, we get to do our own footwork, right?
That's right. We're doing all the footwork, and you know, we're hoping that this very soon, or in the very near future, KFROG will be playing the Swansons music on their station and perhaps interviewing us, and we'll develop a relationship with them.
That's right.
So they'll know who the Swansons are.
We're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere. There used to be a song about it.
Here, let's do some. Oh yeah, that's one of our songs too. I'm not going.
That's right, from back in the day. Back in the day.
Let's do a little. Let's do a little.
You got something on your mind? You just want to break out a little bit? Feel better?
Yep.
Okay.
Music actually came back into my life when I was at one of my lowest points.
I can't shake it, I can't hide it.
And then we had to prepare ourselves for our next show, which was coming back to the Whisky in Hollywood. There we are again at the Whisky A Go-Go. Another Whisky experience and story at the infamous Hollywood Hunt there that's been around since 1963, I believe. So we had a rehearsal here with our the group of musicians that we had selected that were available for that particular show, and we like to rehearse whenever we can with our musicians. However, we don't often have that opportunity due to scheduling, both theirs and ours. So we rehearse together, and they rehearse our music on their own, and collectively we end up on stage and put on a show. This time we were fortunate enough to have them for a rehearsal, a nice long rehearsal, so we could go over some new things that we were implementing, and we didn't want to kind of just show up on stage and have those happen, you know. So
Yeah,
that was cool.
We have a
having
song that we played for this particular set because we have lots of songs and we only get to play a certain amount of time. Unfortunately, we're tied to a specific amount of time for now. Hopefully, in the future, we can just jam it out.
It varies from time to time.
But here we go. So we were playing a song. It wasn't a new song, although we did display 2 new songs that night. But we also played a song that we just haven't played live.
Well, we played the 2 songs off our upcoming album, right? That's not yet released.
Right, but I'm just talking about.
But I wanted to say that you know, just to mention again, give it a plug.
Bam.
So we played a couple songs from Bam, and then go ahead. So this new song that we
That's
we
right.
made a new
It's
video.
not a new song. It's just something that we haven't had a chance to play in a long time. Pretty much, yeah, it's been on hold forever because it just wasn't ready. Sounded good at practice. First time around, not so good. Second time, much tighter, strong enough to bring it in.
Yeah.
I
Need Your Love.
I Need Your Love, and it went well, I felt.
Yeah, it went very well. And thank you to all the musicians that joined us at that show. You know, the Whisky, and it's we talked last week about, let me get a drink. The search on the way in, you get frisked on the way in, and there's a lot of anxiety going into that show because of, various factors. So, I
felt like this time though, because we've been back so many times now, they didn't really search that well, which was very nice because we were just in there pretty quick. Didn't you feel?
Yeah,
they did a much lighter.
But they had the stage set up for the headlining band, Rubik's Cube, which is they're like an '80s tribute band that does a variety of fascinating things and different characters. Michael Jackson.
From what it looked like, obviously I didn't stay their whole set, but obviously we had our fans, so I was able to view their little streams on the social media, see what they were all about after we left, and it looked like they had a ton of musicians just interchanging, and depending on the song, so like some females would come down and sing,
yeah,
and then they'd go back up, and then it'd be like 4 guys out doing, Whip It, and then,
Well, there's
they blacked out the side area.
That's what I'm saying. There's a very narrow staircase leading down to the stage, right?
That's hard enough to see when it's lit up. It's very
Yeah.
small, like what he's saying, like super narrow. You have to be careful. You don't want to fall. You can get really hurt.
And then there were some stage props that they had to have obviously on the stage ahead of time. They were too large to have brought in after we performed. So we had to work around that. And so Angie, one of her many duties in running into a show is to deal with our
The video screen.
technological
The
side
video
of
screen.
I was about to say that. Technologically, Angie takes care of our show. One being the video screen and the
Just the full setup. And anytime someone's like,
projector.
"Oh, can I help you?" and I just say, "No." The best help is for everyone to just stay out of my way when I'm setting up. But basically, they not only had a giant blow up. What was that? What is that character?
It was
from?
like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
It's a Pillsbury Doughboy.
Or the Michelin Man.
Marshmallow Man.
Was it the Michelin guy?
So they had no, just Marshmallow Man.
Marshmallow
Yeah.
Man.
So they had him this giant blow up thing. That's normally where I put the screen. So I was like, how am I gonna work around that? So I somehow had to like wedge it in there. And then they had a big old double decker keyboard situation going on in the way that you can't touch. You can't touch anything. So anyways, I have my normal thing that I set it on, and usually it views it fine, but in this situation, much different. Didn't have it. So I had this thing rigged up on this table. On top of this table was a cloth that I normally use.
For those of you that can't see the table, it's a little rectangular wooden.
Well, this is normally what it goes on, but what I had was this just black that I used for something else, but I had to roll it up and use it because I needed the projector to be lifted a little bit, so I needed a little bit of height, but I had nothing to use, so I just had to like make shift. Luckily that the thing didn't tip over mid-show. Anyways, I got it the best I could for the time, but for some reason, normally the setup thing, I can do it anywhere, anytime, pretty quick. But when there's things in the way like that, the pressure is just insane.
I saw you starting. We were getting a little bit anxious.
Panicked.
Yeah, you were having.
Panicked.
You were blowing it. No, I saw you stressing out, and I wanted to, as much as I wanted to help you.
There was nothing that you could do.
There's nothing I could do, but absorb.
Stay out of the way.
Yeah. So, but that was
'Cause
cool. But
we got it going. We got it looking as best as it could. I felt for the area that we had, we were lucky to still have it set up.
Oh, I thought it was great. And the video, if you guys haven't seen our show, the video is a big part of what we do with Vic, our video master, who goes out on us, goes with us on a weekly basis, shooting videos all over the place and doing all this fascinating stuff. So we got to perform in front of a great crowd that was very receptive to the Swansons' alternative country pop rock music, and so we had a great time doing that, and that's the most important part of it right there. So that's real cool. And speaking of the blues, I got a little trivia for you.
Yeah.
Little blues trivia, which, a lot of people probably already know this, but I find it quite fascinating. One of the originators of the blues,
An OG.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson wrote 29 songs in 1936, between 1936 and 1937, and recorded those songs. And then died at the age of 27.
Sure, in 38,
I'm
1938.
sorry, the age of 27.
Yeah,
the age of 27 at
in
1938.
1938. So those songs
So
just came out of him just shortly before
That's
he
right.
passed.
He had left these 29 songs behind him, which became his legacy, and is quite a fascinating story. I suggest that our fans look up his name if you haven't already heard the story. Robert Johnson. There's a fascinating thing on YouTube and tons of information.
He's from Mississippi, from the South, and when she started telling me, then I had to go and research and watch, the document or whatever, whoever made those cool videos on him on YouTube, and just kind of hear a little bit about his life, or the tale. I guess, they're only tales, because...
Yeah. That's what legends are made of, right?
Yeah.
The tales. That this man who is now legendary had such a short window of time to create these songs that would end up being recorded so many times over.
But they said, though, when he started playing the guitar, that he wasn't good. But he ended up being one of the greatest guitar players of all time, right? For the blues.
If you listen to his recordings,
But that's why they were saying that at the crossroads, he sold his soul to the devil, because this is what the one guy said. He said, because in 6 months, only 6 months, he became a not good guitar player to a fabulous guitar player. So that's what they were saying, that
the crossroads story.
He sold his soul to the devil to get to
That's
be
right.
the great
As legend
guitar
has it.
player.
That's
Yes.
right.
So
As
they say.
legend has it.
So they
Robert
say.
Johnson sold his soul to the devil and created 29 fascinating songs.
And one of those songs
One of those songs we close our show out with, all pre-recorded, as we're saying goodnight to the audience, and that song is "Sweet Home Chicago." So there's a cool little piece of trivia. Robert Johnson, OG of the blues. So we have a fascinating musician with us today.
That's right, yes.
On Welcome to Swansonville Podcast. And we're very, very happy to have him with us. And,
That's right. We get to play with him. He's a musician that gets to play with us, the Swansons. He plays
fiddle. That's right.
That's right. I'm like,
That's
are we
right.
revealing?
And
Coming up, and
his name is Elias
Elias
Shwartzman. He is a fiddle player that performs with us. Actually, has been performing with us quite frequently in the recent past, and we look forward to performing with him again very soon, next week, in fact. And so, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Elias Shwartzman. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Swansonville. We're here with our very special guest, our friend, and an extraordinarily talented musician, Elias Shwartzman. Elias, how are you?
I'm doing really well.
Welcome to Swansonville, man.
Thank you for having me here.
Glad to have you here. I was wondering, first off, your name is very, very unique, very cool.
Well, my first name, Elias, is actually of biblical origin. It comes from the Bible. If we want to go all the way back, it comes from the Old Testament, from the prophet Eliyahu, or Elijah. And then that Elijah got sort of transformed into Elias when the New Testament got rewritten into Greek and turned into...
Wow.
Yeah, so...
That's pretty awesome. Now, how about the Shwartzman?
Shwartzman. So you would hear it and think German, because it does mean Schwartzman. Schwartz means black. So maybe it's sort of like a blacksmith name, but it's missing one N. And all of the German Schwartzmans have two N's on the end. So you know that my grandparents were Ukrainian. And so that's the Ukrainian Jewish side of my family, the Shwartzman.
Well, that's a beautiful name, Elias Shwartzman. Awesome.
I thank my parents for it.
Awesome, cool. And where are you from? And where did you kind of grow up?
I grew up in Washington, D.C. When I was 7, my family moved to Brazil for a year, and I learned Portuguese.
That's amazing.
Jeez.
Was
amazing.
actually an incredible experience.
How awesome is that?
Only 1 year, and then you came back to live back in D.C.?
We moved out of D.C. to the suburbs in Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So like near Bethesda or Rockville. Tiny little town.
Why did they go to Brazil? What was the year? Was it...
That was 1995.
Okay.
And my mom was on sabbatical. She's a professor at American University, a professor of documentary film. So she had a year to do whatever she wanted. And my dad's work has always been in Brazil. He got a PhD in anthropology and did field work for several years with an indigenous group in the Amazon. Yeah.
So you came back, so you went to Brazil for a year and went back to Washington, D.C.? Or
No, a suburb of Maryland.
a suburb of Maryland.
That's when we moved from D.C. to Maryland. So basically I grew up in D.C. and Maryland with a little bit of Brazil thrown in there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
great.
What drove you here to California? How'd you end up here?
Well, how I ended up here, I really didn't pick Southern California. Out of all the places on a map that I would pick to live, like Southern California is honestly, at least 5 years ago, not one of my top choices.
Right.
But after a long struggle with addiction in first Oakland, actually, I lived in Oakland from 2010 to early 2012. And then I went back to live with my folks and try to get things together in DC or Maryland. And after another year, I ended up having to do, some rehab. And I went to rehab in, of all places, Las Vegas.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I did not expect to end up in Las Vegas at all. They just told me, we found a good place for you to go. And I was like, great, that sounds amazing, whatever. And I got to the airport, I got my ticket, and it says Las Vegas. And I'm like, is this some kind of bizarre karmic joke?
Yeah. Sin City, of all the cities. I know, you're like, how is this going to work?
Prior to finding yourself in this situation with the addiction and the recovery, let's go back to your childhood. And when did you know that you had the gift of music, so to speak?
I have a different story than my parents about this one, but I think I'm right because I have a very distinct memory of being 5 years old, sitting in the back seat of the family Volvo and hearing Vivaldi's Four Seasons and just being passionately moved. Just feeling something like I'd never felt before from that music and thinking, I need to be able to do that.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so I remember that moment very distinctly. My parents say that I saw a kid-sized violin and was just completely enamored with it and would not stop asking them to play violin until they got me one.
That's what I was going to ask you. What was your first instrument that you did play?
Yeah, so I started with violin. And that's how I got started.
Your influence in music for you, so you hear that music, but to have access, did your parents, were they musicians or anybody around you in your life as a child?
My dad is a guitarist, and my mom was actually forced to play violin by her mother, my grandmother.
Okay.
But really did not like it. She plays piano well and sings. And my brother plays banjo, so we're actually a musical family.
Wow, that's
cool.
Awesome.
Is it just you and your brother?
Yeah, it's just
2 siblings.
Yeah, just me and my brother.
As a
couple
family,
years
did you ever do anything musically together?
Yeah, we've done plenty of things. We sometimes play open mics when we're all on vacation together.
Oh, that's
How cool
fun.
is that?
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to share music with the whole family.
That's awesome, man. So when you began your musical journey with the violin, was there somebody specifically that you were looking at as somebody that you would want to aspire to be like on that instrument? Or did you seek out any kind of a teacher for any specific kind of playing? Or did you just kind of pick it up and just kind of fiddle around with it?
I totally want to give you like a really great answer to this question, but I will be honest and say that my parents found me a teacher once they got me the instrument because they were, wanted me to actually learn how to play instead of making horrific screeching sounds. And once I discovered that taking lessons and practicing was actually work and that I would have to do those things to sound the way that I wanted to sound, I was really, really disillusioned. I was like, no, I thought I was just going to sound amazing.
Right.
But I did have, I think at my core, a lot of drive to get there. And I also had, for the times that I didn't have that passion and drive, I had my parents there to help me just keep moving forward until I was old enough to know that this was something that I just loved and wanted to keep doing.
And you chose a very, very complex instrument too.
One of my early teachers always said, the violin is a very unforgiving instrument.
Yeah. Well, you play it beautifully, surely. And that's not the only instrument that you do play. You play multiple instruments, don't you?
I picked up viola when I was 15. I have more recently, over the last couple of years, started playing mandolin. Earlier this year, I learned how to play guitar, and I've just started learning cello in the last 2 or 3 months, actually.
Wow.
Cool. Is there anything that you think you might want to learn? That I feel like you keep wanting to learn and evolve and meet new instruments. Is there anything that you haven't learned yet that's kind of on the back burner? Like I'll get to that one day, you know?
Absolutely. The nickel harpa.
The nickel harpa. Nice.
Yeah, which is a obscure Swedish folk instrument. It literally means key fiddle. And it is just the most magical sounding thing. It's got 16 strings. You only play 3 of them. The rest of them are there to like resonate, but it's actually got a sympathetic string for every note of the chromatic scale. So every single note that you play on it has an open string that just rings in resonance with it. It's got the most amazing tone, and it's very long and strange looking. It's kind of like the original guitar, or if you imagined like a mashup between a rusty typewriter and a fiddle. It's a strange thing that you play with the bow about that long, but I want one of those and I want to learn. Yeah.
That sounds cool. Now learning the violin and studying as a child student, did you stay with the same teacher for a long period of time, or did you have multiple teachers? Anyone specifically that encouraged you to get to the level that you've achieved at this point in time?
I really have 2 people to thank. The first would be Emily Campbell, and she was my teacher from when I was 5 until I was maybe 11 or 12. And then I took lessons with June Huang in Washington, D.C. She's, I think, a member of the Baltimore Symphonic Orchestra, and actually graduated from the same school that I eventually went to college.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Awesome. Well, tell us about college. Where did you go?
I went to Oberlin College.
Did you study music?
A lot of people in the life that I now have think when I say I went to Oberlin College that I went to the conservatory. They have a really highly ranked conservatory. And I thought about auditioning there, but when I was in high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with myself. And I love science, so I ended up getting in to the College of Arts and Sciences, never auditioned for the conservatory, and got my degree in biology. I did take classes in the conservatory every so often. I took lessons from students at the conservatory while I was there, and there were ensembles that I could take for a credit or 2 if I wanted to as electives. So I did that, but I didn't actually end up going to school for music.
No performing in college?
Pretty much. For the first half of college, I did keep taking lessons, like I said, and I would take like a class or 2 where I would get to play with an ensemble. But I almost completely stopped playing music for my junior and senior years at college. Because that was really kind of when the drugs started to take off.
This is when things got problematic for you?
Yeah, that's when I started to run into real trouble.
You had to go through a lot of soul searching and kind of figuring out a whole new journey then. I would imagine. I've had similar experiences in that arena. So at your senior year, so those were where the troubles seemed to start to begin for you. And
yeah, it was kind of like a slow slide downward, slow enough that I managed to graduate.
So you managed to graduate. Okay.
I did manage to graduate, yeah.
And then so
sure how.
So you were able to, and I don't know how I some of the things that I've had recovered from. Some was kind of like, wow, how did I get from here? Yeah, how did I get from here to from there to here? There's some points where I have to attribute it to God, and that's all I can say about that for that.
Yeah.
In having to confront your addictions, you found the music at the end of the journey there.
I know. When did music come back into your life?
That was a better way to actually phrase that one, wasn't it?
That is a really interesting question. Music actually came back into my life when I was at one of my lowest points, because I discovered that I still had the talent and ability to play such that I could pop open a case on a street corner and make what I needed to make for that day.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't looking any further than that day, and it was going nowhere good. But I found that not only was that a way for me to make money, but it was a way to help life continue be worth living.
Yeah.
You know, make life bearable in one of the worst periods that I've ever had. So that was really where I reconnected with music. But I was just so lost. And then I ended up, like I said, in rehab in Las Vegas. I ended up staying there and inpatient for 2 months because I just really needed that time. And during that time, I had this awakening where I realized that I could do whatever I wanted to. You know, if I just put one foot in front of the other, I could take whatever path opened up to me. And so I decided, why not try music?
Yeah.
And so when I left there, I had a choice of trying to find some place to live back in Maryland, or take a bus to Orange County, where there were lots of options for me at that point in time. It was also early February, and I did a quick calculation about the weather. And I said, bus ride to sunshine and the ocean, and maybe 60 degrees at the very coldest, or back to the East Coast in the middle of winter.
Right.
And you know, I didn't expect to stay more than 3 or 6 months, but
Really?
I really thought, you know, I just needed to get back on my feet, figure out which way was up, and then I would head back east. But the longer I stayed here, the more things started to just unravel in really beautiful, wonderful ways, and started connecting with people, and I found a whole new life for myself.
Good for you. Orange County is hard to leave once you go because it's such a beautiful place. Like you said, 60 degrees the coldest. You know, the beach is about a 30-minute drive if you're a little bit inland, you know.
Yeah.
And it's good for the soul.
It is.
So we've had the great opportunity to perform with you, and you with the Swansons, and well, that's been awesome, you know. And so aside from that, obviously you have a wealthy background in music. What are you doing currently with the fiddle? You have several projects you were referencing earlier.
Oh yeah. So I play bluegrass, Celtic, Irish music, a little bit of classical music when I can find a venue for that. And I do all sorts of really any kind of work that interests me. So I'll play weddings. You would be surprised the number of people that want a violinist to mysteriously appear as they propose to their significant other.
That's awesome.
Which is always really interesting and fun to sort of make that happen for somebody else.
Yeah.
Really cool. And
It is really cool. It's a magical
cool.
moment. You know?
yeah.
Do you have any stories or any special anything funny or romantic, anything that was like, wow, that really stuck out to you that when you were playing?
Well, I've actually had some really interesting moments playing for tips, because when I came out here, that was the only avenue that I had to perform. So I went down to Newport Beach, went to the pier, and put out my case. And, you know, I never failed to make rent that way. And I also, through that, just encountering so many different people, being approached by so many different people as a street musician, managed to connect with other musicians.
Yeah, wow.
And that's how I ended up collaborating with Calvin, the guitarist that I have been working with for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
He found me playing down by the beach, and he was like, I don't ever hear anybody playing Mozart down at the beach.
So you guys connected musically 5 years ago, and so you continue to work together to present day in more than just one project, multiple projects.
That's correct. We play as a duo. We have a large Irish band called Riev, which we were lucky enough to play the convention for the TV show Outlander in New Jersey and in Las Vegas last year.
Awesome.
Lots
You
of
said
fun.
big Irish band, so how big?
6 people.
Awesome.
Which,
that's
to
big.
me, that's a lot of people.
Big. 6
Yeah.
pieces. Is
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people.
It's a lot of people to have on stage. That's,
Yeah, that's a big band.
As you are so familiar with, having been in so many bands, the more personalities you have in a band, the more interesting things can
Yes,
get.
it certainly does. It certainly does. Yeah, that's Angie and I have each other, so we, that's just perfect, a match made in heaven. So we don't ever have any kind of problems with our music, right, Angie?
That's
That's
right.
a beautiful smile.
Yeah.
What else besides music do you like to do? What are your interests outside of music?
Hobbies or...
I like to play chess. I like video games. I'm a gamer.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And I'm also a cryptocurrency enthusiast.
Oh, very cool. So you're a brainiac. That's what you are.
A little bit of a major nerd, yes. Have always been that way, honestly.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
To do or
Personal
perform.
achievements.
Personal achievements.
What are your accomplishments? Anything that stands out, rings a bell in your head, like that was a moment that was really, really significant, man?
I have a really great one from last year, and I'm sorry to say that I actually can't share it with you because it is just a great achievement that I've been working towards for the last 5 years. It's been a goal, but the rest of the project hasn't been made public yet.
Oh,
And so
cool.
I can't.
Well, congratulations on it. I'm sure
When
it's...
is it going to be revealed?
Yeah.
I believe the release is for March.
March.
Oh, cool.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be
So
looking for
keep
that.
looking out for that for March.
So now, as a performer, as a live performer, and you're a wonderful live performer,
Well, thank you.
you're very animated and very soulful, and very engaging. And so as a performer and all the things that you do, the various things you do, whether it be rock and roll, country, classical, the Irish thing, speaking of moments, are there any of those that were very defining and very like, wow, I can't believe that this is actually happening right now? You know what I mean? In your past, whether it's your childhood or as an adult.
One of the big breaks that I've had that Calvin and I have had really appeals to both the gamer side of me and the musician. And that was that Blizzard, for their game Hearthstone, chose Calvin and myself, our traditional Irish group, to play for their convention, their yearly convention in 2015, 2016, and 2017. We sadly didn't get to do it last year because they actually, to my understanding, discontinued that room in the convention.
Oh.
They used to have a room that was completely done up to look like the game.
Yeah.
Where you could, it's a set in a tavern. So they had like a room that was set up with a tavern, and we were the tavern band. So that appeals to both the gamer and me, who's been playing like Warcraft since, I don't know, since I was like 9 years old.
Colliding.
Yeah, absolutely.
That
And then
sounds
I get,
amazing.
yeah, it was just so much fun. And it was such a privilege to be able to work with such a big name.
Yeah. Yeah, that really is. And then now, I notice you're holding this instrument here. Is this your favorite fiddle? Or I know there's an attachment with us musicians to our instruments, some deeper than others, and I have guitars all over this room, and I have different feelings about each and every one of them. How about that one in particular for you?
So, yes, this violin, I only acquired recently. This violin used to belong to my grandmother, and she left it to me, and so I inherited it last year when she passed. And it has just been, no, she passed in 2017. Sorry. Not used to it being
that's-
2019.
New Year,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's tough, man.
I
It's
know.
Not used. But yeah, this was
Got right in
her
there for you.
violin, and she commissioned it to be made for her in 1956 by a luthier in Minneapolis. And it was hers until the day she died. So it was really special to inherit it just for the sentimental value. And when I first picked it up, I thought, this is really nice, but I don't know how often I'm going to play this thing because, I'm not sure about how it sounds.
Yeah.
And there was this process then, as I played it more and more, I came to understand how it wanted to be played. And it came back to life because she was 94 when she passed and hadn't played it for, I don't think, 4 or 5 years. And I don't know how it is with guitars because I'm not super familiar with them, but with violins, if you don't play them, their sound kind of just deadens a little bit.
Yeah.
And you need to get the vibrations going through the wood to really wake the whole sound up again.
Well,
so as I played it, it just opened up more and more and more until it was so clearly a superior instrument to any of the other ones that I own. I have 4 other violins.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
How significantly different is each one of those violins, or is it not significant, sound-wise? The feel, the whole experience with the instrument.
Each one of them is a totally different animal. 3 of them are really high quality instruments. 2 of them are instruments that I'll take to the beach or loan to students of mine if a student needs an instrument to get started. But of the 3 that are really important, one, the one that I actually play on most of the gigs with you,
right,
that has the pickup installed, was glued back together from being shattered into pieces when I was 14. It was my first full-size violin, and then there was an accident where I fell on top of it. And my parents wanted to just throw it out, but I knew that at some point I would be able to fix it, that I would know somebody. And so one of my friends, an excellent luthier who I used to be in a band with, he actually used to be Hank III's bass player for a while, Jason Brown, down in Laguna Beach. He said, he mostly works on upright basses, but he said, I can put that thing back together for you. I can cut you a deal. So that was a really special moment for me early last year, actually, was getting to have that violin finally reconstructed after 16 years in pieces.
That's amazing.
And it's got an incredible tone too. It's a German violin from the late 19th century.
So even though he put it back together, you were able to still work it back into sounding good again? Because you know how when, sometimes I feel like if you get a car accident, and you fix it, it's just never the same. But it's not that case with this?
No, it's my understanding from talking to other luthiers that can happen with violins. Okay. That it's a real, it depends on the luthier, it depends on the damage done.
Can I interrupt for one moment?
Yeah.
Just, for those in the audience that don't know what a luthier is, could you explain that to them?
So a luthier is an instrument maker.
I love that.
Or, a craftsman who makes and repairs instruments.
Okay, cool.
When I broke it and I took it to get potentially fixed, they said, this is going to cost way more than it's worth. We could put it back together and it could sound terrible. We could put it back together and it could sound the way it used to sound. We could put it back together and it could sound even better than it used to sound, but nobody knows.
And you won the grand prize.
I think that there's some magic in Jason's fingers.
Yeah.
Honestly, he is extremely accomplished and has done work for a lot of really high-level, Nashville players.
Wow. Well, lucky for you too.
So I was really, really lucky to know him.
And then you had mentioned too, and then we didn't even talk about that really, is the fact that you're a teacher.
Yeah.
So that must be joyful and very soul-fulfilling, to be a teacher, or it might drive you crazy, I'd imagine.
Yes, it's both. It's absolutely both. And it's been a real process. I only started teaching seriously a couple years ago. But it is incredibly rewarding to start both with children and adults and help walk people through the steps that I took when I was just 5 years old. And to see over the course of months and now years, people go from not being able to make a sound to being able to play beautifully. That is incredibly gratifying.
Is something that's very gratifying for you? Is it as gratifying as performing? Are they equals, or is there something that outweighs the other? What is more gratifying to you?
I think that performing is more pure fun.
Yeah.
They both are really valuable and enriching for me. But I think they both have their place, and as long as I'm playing music, I'm going to continue doing both.
I was just gonna say, when you teach, where do you teach? At a facility in Orange County, or sometimes?
I have my own studio.
Oh, okay.
So I either go to with children. I go to their place,
Their
and
houses. So
they're
you're mobile, or
Yeah,
people can come into the studio and see you?
Yeah, I tend to make my adult students come to me because they have cars, they can drive. Yeah. So
And do you
it's
do
either or.
anything? Have you ever done a Skype?
I haven't done any online lessons yet, but I would if people wanted to.
Right. So if
That's
anyone
something
contacts
I
us-
just started doing that with Brent Mason.
Oh wow!
And it's quite interesting, and I'll bet that you would love it, and that you would find a lot of students in doing that. If you were, are you in the process? Do you want to build your student base, or are you pursuing any future students? Are we allowed to say that you get a hold of Elias if you'd like to take lessons, or you're not taking on any?
I might have a couple slots open if things lined up just the right way.
Okay.
But I am a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can imagine with all the stuff that you're doing. Well, we're going to play something together here and
Let's do it.
do a little Swansons music for y'all, and a little piece of song off of Country This, Hey Can't Be Love. So we'll try a little bit of that. Weight can lay heavy to rest. You know, lay can't keep up with the best. You can make your decree without treading on me. You're just getting things off your chest.
Tears don't stop falling from rain. Happiness doesn't cause pain. But you can't take the truth, presented so rude. It's not sounding like lies all the same. Hey, can't be
Love, but don't climb in the middle, 'cause ain't gonna wait for somebody to love. Hey, can't be love, but don't cry me no river, 'cause it ain't gonna do you no good. No good. No good. No good. No good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elias, for coming on to Welcome to Swansonville
That's
Podcast.
right. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
this is
Thank you so much.
the extraordinarily talented,
Elias
amazing
Shwartzman.
friend of ours, Elias Shwartzman. Thanks for
Thank you so much.
joining us. Well, what do you know? Thank you, Elias Shwartzman. Man, that was something else. Wasn't that something else? Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We love having very interesting guests, stories to tell, lives that they live.
Great stories.
Relatable stories
Wonderful
that
journeys.
each and one of us can relate to, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel like every time we have a guest, it's like when they're telling us their story, and each one is so different, there's always something in their story that's like, oh, that's just like me. I don't know if you feel that way, but I've been feeling that way.
Yeah.
And each time, like, we hear different life stories, I feel like I can just pick something out like it and just be like, me too.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Well, we're
we
all
hope
relatable,
that y'all
each
can
and every
relate.
one of
Yeah,
us. You
that's
know?
right.
And that's
yeah.
the fun thing about doing this podcast is finding out how interesting these people are and how much we all have in common as
That's
human
right.
beings. You know what I mean? So that's cool. And lovely that we had Elias Shwartzman.
That's right. And we got a special guest coming up next episode.
Our mystery guest next week will be, well,
Drum roll.
You tune in and find out.
You'll have to tune in next week and
Yes.
find out who it's going to be.
It's going to be awesome, I'll tell you that. And I know we're going to close out with a song, but I just want to say something. We didn't plan on actually speaking about this until it occurred. Before you had gotten home, you know, I had picked up a couple things from our pets. It's been raining outside, you know. But yeah, so...
I know. So when it rains, we have 2 dogs. I don't know about cats, but I know that our dogs.
We have 2
Don't-
dogs, Silly Lily, which is
Silly Lily
Angie's dog.
and Little Bear.
And Little Bear, which
And
is
they
my
don't like to go-
purebred poodle.
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't like to go to the bathroom outside when it's raining or wet or anything. So when it rains, we're always prepared for the nightmare on the
So what I
inside,
wasn't
right?
prepared for was this. I had already cleaned up some poop and some pee here and there, you know, and whatever, no big deal. But this thing had me curious in the middle of the living room floor, right before I was getting ready to grab something to eat. I just saw, you know, it was just this odd looking, you know, like a brownish green looking, I don't know, little
Did you think maybe it was a treat?
I thought it might be like a piece of dirt or a leaf or maybe a
Boy, were you in for
So I
a
made
treat.
the mistake of touching it with my finger.
What were you thinking?
I
What
was like
going
about. I
through
was
your
about
head?
to. Here's the thought.
What was
I was
going
about to actually pick it up. Like I thought, oh, this is, just, and then because why would that be there like that? It wasn't, you know, like it wasn't turd looking. It was very. It
Of
was,
course
so,
it's a turd.
well, I broke the. You know how I broke the shell of the turd where the smell immediately came. It was like, and my finger had poop on it.
Oh.
You know, so I was in quite the quandary, to say the least. So I had to take my poop finger to the sink and wash it. I can't tell you how many times before I returned to the scene of the crime and picked up the poop, which then required some scrubbing. It was smeary and it was. It wasn't
I
cool.
think I just threw up in my mouth.
Yeah, but the point being is that I love these animals. You know, I mean, I love them that much that I would be willing to do that and then
But don't
pick
get
them
me
up,
wrong.
kiss them and love them and hug them.
When we pick it up, we think, I'll sell you. I'll drop you off on the corner. I
What
don't
are we
care.
doing with these animals? No, we don't. We love these dogs. So I just wanted to say that before we close out, that was quite an experience to
I think that's
run
so
into.
funny that you just, after because I know what you're thinking. This couldn't be a turd. I just cleaned up the turds.
Yeah,
I just got done cleaning the turds. How could there be another turd?
yeah. This
Well, let me tell you, 2 dogs refusing to go outside, you'd be surprised how much.
I think that one might have hung on and dropped off in the other room. You know what I mean? That's why it was on its lonesome and didn't look like an actual pile. Does that make any sense?
Was it
That's the only thing I can
separate
figure.
from
It did not in any way, shape, or form look like a dog poop turd.
It was probably your dog then.
Whatever. Okay, let's get on. Let's get on with it. It was your dog.
It's all your dog's fault
We're gonna play a song.
And you touched it
What are we gonna play today,
with
Ange?
your finger.
Okay, well, whatever. It's over. I'm over it. My hands couldn't be any cleaner. Let me just tell you that.
I know, I bet,
Let me
I
put it to
bet.
you that way. My hands have never been cleaner than they are right now, and that is a fact, Jack. All right, we're gonna do a song from Country This again, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to do today? Today. What do you want to do today?
I don't know.
Road full of holes. Was that what you said? Did you say road full of holes?
Did I?
Oh my goodness. Why don't we play that then? Yeah. Every road is full of holes, and I find a way, fix them up, so that I can roll, and I'm heading home, and then I know
one day I won't have to stop.
We did this with Lori Kibbe.
Did we?
Yeah. I don't mind waiting till the final warning.
Did we?
I don't mind standing in a line with you. I don't mind showing a little extra patience, Lord. But don't you know, we all get a little fed up and find that every road is full of holes, and I'll find a way to fix them up so that I can roll and I'm heading home, and then I'll know one day I won't have to stop. Now I don't mind calling out a reputation, and I don't have a problem with the things I do. My life is not a permanent destination, Lord. But don't you know, we all get a little held up and find that every road is full of holes, and I'll find a way to fix them up so that I can roll, and I'm heading home, and then I'll know one day I won't have to stop. Lord knows, then I'll know one day I won't have to stop. I love you, Ange.
Love you, Joe. And we love you.
Y'all. See you next week on our podcast.
Yeah, welcome to
Swansonville. See you next week.